Sound out. Then I said, whether I get any alpha, are you doing anything? Those are those options we have. And please tell those arise people. They'll be covering us. Though. If they are covering us, you can come here.
Around the stream.
Let me.
Your close it, right? Huh?
The camera is not showing. Check.
So your now this camera they show.
Okay. It's on.
Is it on? Check, it's not on.
Are you? Why is it? Just plug it now. Remove it and plug it again.
Remove the feed for the camera and put it back again. The one that's connected here.
Leave those ones. Those ones are not issue.
Found it. Yeah? Why? Switch the camera. You're not coming up.
Yeah, it's like your.
It's coming up now. I have it here. So let me switch.
You go and collect this Starlink. Water line. Hello? Okay, we're coming.
Vehicle number JJ362F, please, you have to park outside. Vehicle plate number
Oh.
JJ362, plate number.
Please, if you are sitting behind, can you leave forward? Leave the best, please. Move forward, please. Please move.
Right. We need
Move forward.
somebody.
Where
Where is that?
No, stay there.
Where are they?
Yes. Please move forward. If they come, please find us here. Is that what?
Mute your listeners. Your mic. Yeah, that's fine. I just want to understand how we can, given the circumstances that we find ourselves, because it's picking up from our own mic. This is a Bluetooth, right?
Very
Bluetooth
much.
mic. That's
To please want you to be back outside. Vehicle plate number KT
So if we can-
925FE, please.
If we
Your
can
attention is being called.
connect this one by Bluetooth.
Plate number
right?
KJ 362F. Please, you need to be back. Professor Emmanuel Calvin Messiaen is a celebrated scholar of theater and film studies, a master director, media communicator, and cultural documentarian, a professor at the University of Port Harcourt. His academic journey spanned over 3 decades of teaching, research, artistic production, and institutional leadership. His work in theater directing from Rosa Alba to Grace, the 2024 LNG award-winning play, and his film and television credits, including Kinjaja Fogo and What's Going On, reflect a career defined by excellence, creativity, and national impact. His international engagements have taken across Africa, Europe, and the United States, including his service as Public Information Officer with Africa Union and United Union Hybrid Operation in Darfur, where he produced media content for peace building, cultural documentation, and community engagement. Professor Messiaen is a fellow of the Nigeria Academy of Letters and multiple professional bodies. Professor Messiaen is widely respected for his eloquence, ceremonial presence, and a rare ability to hold an audience with intellect, clarity, and artistic command. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to present the program host for the 28th Wole Lecture Series, Professor Emmanuel Calvin Messiaen. A round of applause, please.
Let's push one more. Walking. So nobody will this study. Okay. No, good. Would have reached a level of that. They should block something. They know they're going to come back. What if you guys don't have a bunch around like that's a nice size. I didn't want to do.
Members of the National Association, our great Professor Wole Soyinka, guests, members of the academic, professional, and civil society communities, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you. Good afternoon. It is my privilege to welcome you to the 28th Wole Soyinka lecture convened by the National Association of CIDOCs, also known as the Pirates Confraternity. Today's theme, reclaiming the Nigerian state through accountability, justice, and civic courage, places before us a question that is both institutional and personal. How do we build a state in which authority is answerable, justice is accessible, and citizenship courageous? This conversation is rooted in a history that began in 1952 at the University College Ibadan, when 7 undergraduates organized against class privilege, elitism, tribalism, and indifference to the social realities around them. That founding act was not merely social, it was a statement that conversations which diminish human dignity must be questioned and changed. More than 7 decades later, those questions remain urgent. Who is protected by the state? Who is excluded? Who is accountable? And who possesses the courage to insist that public institutions serve the common good? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you have been told, my name is Professor Emmanuel Calvin Emasialu, and I have the honor of serving as your compere for today's event. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once more, I welcome you all. I am going to be working with Stella Fubara. I'd like to invite a very special person to address us here. Before I invite him, I'd like to inform us that the founding of the Pirates Confraternity in 1952 was itself an exercise in civic courage. Its founders saw practices that had become accepted within their environment and recognized that acceptance was not the same as legitimacy. They opposed the idea that privilege should determine worth, that ethnicity should determine belonging, or that social indifference should be treated as normal. The association's 4 compass points against moribund convention, against tribalism, for humanistic ideals, and for comradeship and chivalry gave institutional form to that conviction. It is therefore appropriate that we begin by hearing from the leadership of an organization founded on the principle that society can and must be challenged to become better. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I invite the NAS Capone to present his opening address. Dr. Joseph Otero. You're welcome, sir.
I have a list of protocol, but I think I will just skip that and move straight because we are behind time. Mr. Chairman, Mr. our guest of honor, and Noble Laureate, Professor Wole, GCON, our keynote speaker, Chief Priester Chidoka Oyefaro, our esteemed discussants and contributors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our students, good afternoon. It is my singular honor as NAS Capone to welcome you all to the 28th Wole Soyinka lecture series, which this year is enriched by the observance of our Martyr's Day. This year's lecture theme will not be more fitting, reclaiming the Nigerian state through accountability, justice, and civic courage. We meet at a moment when impunity outlives the regimes that bred it. Institutions weaken and public trust in governance continue to erode. This lecture is our invitation to Nigerians everywhere to move from grievance to engagement, from spectatorship to stewardship of our own democracy. We are deeply honored that Professor Soyinka continues to lend his voice, conscience, and presence to this cause. Sir, your being here remains a powerful testament to courage and conviction. We are equally grateful to Chief Mr. Chidoka for the insight he brings as our keynote speaker, and to our discussants, Professor Barry Gumba, Bene Joy, whom took a practical, which I will explain later. All right, Honorable Uche Osha, our thanks also go to Lady Stella Fubara, our moderator, and Demola Sam Atue, our program host. I think it's supposed to be Professor Mesa, our program host. Alongside the lecture, we also pause today to observe our Martyr's Day. 29 years ago, on the 17th of February 1997, several of our members were seized from our anchor point and some from their homes and offices, incarcerated from Bori Camp guard room to Borogiri police station until we landed in Port Harcourt Correctional Home. A 74-day unplanned journey, simply for being associated with the name Soyinka, a name the Abacha regime had come to fear. Some of us in this room lived through that darkness ourselves. We were termed Adeko, we were locked away for daring to believe that Nigeria deserves better than the good of a dictator. Some of us were declared wanted in the Guardian newspaper, and at the end, we got a landmark judgment at the Miscellaneous Offence Tribunal, exactly a year after we left the prison custody, April 30th, 1998. Professor Soyinka himself awarded some of us the Order of the Golden Compass at the 50th anniversary compact in 2002. I think there will be another award today, just to honor, because this is happening in the very place that issue took place. That chapter of our history is bound closely to one of today's discussions, although perhaps not in the way one might expect. When Nigeria was counsel to the then Rivers State Corporation of Police at the Port panel, but Joy herself who put Professor Soyinka on the witness stand at the Port panel to be questioned, and by her own account, she came away stunned by the shared eloquence of the English that led her cross-examination. I remember when Prof. Soyinka used the word nebulous in explaining a point. There was laughter everywhere, and she also acknowledged that nebulous. I think today she said the word nebulous. Her presence with us today on this side of history is a reminder of how far this journey has brought many of us. It's a rare and moving thing to have her in the room. After going through all our files, she selected a nominal for herself. She selected a name for herself. She wanted to be called in Paris popularity. She would tell us that as part of why she chose the name she chose. I noticed that some of our members in this hall are wearing F18. I don't know if anybody's wearing F18. F18 represents February 18, and it was a day that event happened. You're supposed to come here with your F18 shirts, and I don't know if anyone is around.
Yeah.
The lecture.
F18 is a very the name titled that every Guardian publication. Want today to commemorate this history. May I ask all those wearing that shirt, and indeed all our members who lived through the detention, to please stand so that we may recognize you. If you're part of those events. Thank you. To the chairman, Timmy Adewi, we thank you for honoring us with your presence and for exemplifying accountable leadership through your service. We know you've been through this, through that, through this, and we're happy you're able to actually come. To everyone here in Port Harcourt, and those watching on our YouTube channel, thank you for spending this afternoon with us. What you hear today is not meant to end in this hall. It is meant to travel with you into your homes, your offices, and your ballot boxes. On behalf of the Nigerian Citizens Very Confraternity, family worldwide, I welcome you once again and invite you to open your minds to the conversations ahead. Thank you, and God bless the Republic of Nigeria. Our citizens.
I like the tail end of his presentation. Our citizens. Because you don't know how to address me. Our citizens. Oh. And so, oh, becomes a phenomenon. Please, we have a very special person with us here today. He is a technocrat, he's a banker, he's a public administrator, he is a Niger Delta development advocate. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present a distinguished Nigerian technocrat whose professional and public service career has been closely connected with the search for peace, development, and institutional stability in the Niger Delta. Yes, Chief alive. You are welcome, sir. I know when he was born on the 10th of June, 1962, in Igbaiwari, Opokuma, in present-day Bayelsa State. I know that Chief Timi Alaibe rose through modest beginnings to become an accomplished accountant, banker, businessman, public administrator, and political leader. Please, I have so much to say. I have prepared 3 pages on this man. But for want of time, I will request that if you want those 3 pages, you can talk to me at the end of this event. Therefore, I hereby present the chairman of this event, our own Chief Ndutimi Alaibi, to kindly address this august assembly. Chief Alaibi, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Permit me to also observe the laws for want of time. Also permit me to begin by paying tribute to our distinguished guest of honor, Professor Wole, GC Professor. Well-laureate, revered elder statesman, and spiritual leader of the National Synod. How old those? As we today, not today, because it was on the 13th of July, as we here celebrate his birthday, I believe it's a good time to say happy birthday, Prof. Because on the 13th, but this month is to celebrate you. Even this function is to celebrate you, sir. Your life has been a steadfast and unyielding rebuke to tyranny, injustice, and every abuse of power. Nigeria is immeasurably better today because of people like you. It is evident that throughout your remarkable journey, you have consistently chosen the path that is harder, the harder path, the path of confidence, courage, and truth. Speaking truth to power when silence would have been safer, easier, and even more rewarding. Those of us privileged to know you personally have also come to admire another side of your greatness, your generosity of spirit, your loyalty to friends, your readiness to encourage worthy causes, and your extraordinary willingness to show up whenever principle rather than prominence calls. Today we honor you, not merely with words, but with our presence.
and our shared commitment to engage the very questions of life's work as posed to our nation for more than 6 decades. Questions of justice, accountability, freedom, and moral courage required to build a democratic society. I welcome my friend, Sita. He's also my brother and in-law. Chief Sita Chikuka OFR, Chancellor of the Athena Center of Policy and Leadership, and former Minister of Aviation. He will shortly deliver a keynote address. Sita has never been one to speak from the comfort or safety of the sidelines. Throughout his public life, he has demonstrated the courage to engage difficult national questions with conviction, rigor, and candor. I have every confidence he will do so again today. I acknowledge the leadership of the National Assembly of Sea Dogs gathered here in Port Harcourt for this year's Converge. I want to single out my brother, the NAS captain, Dr. Joseph Oteri, for the recognition. I think he deserves a round of applause. We are assembled not merely to exchange ideas, but to also remember. It is fitting that this year's Soyinka lecture series also features NAS Martyr's Day, providing a powerful historical context for the conversation before us. For members of NAS Martyr's Day, Martyr's Day recall one of the most difficult chapters in the association's history, when members were endured harassment, arrest, detention, torture, imprisonment, and even death during the dark days of the military era for refusing to be silent in the face of oppression. It commemorates the events of February 18, 1997, when members of the Zone F became enduring symbols of resilience and civil courage, the struggle for restoration of democracy and the rule of law. The significance of this observance extends far beyond the suffering of those individuals. It reminds us that democracy was neither inevitable nor freely bestowed. It was won through the sacrifice of countless Nigerians, many celebrated, many unsung, who endured intimidation, persecution, and personal loss in the defense of freedom, justice, and accountable governance. It is appropriate, therefore, that a lecture series dedicated to Professor Soyinka, a man whose life has been defined by principled resistance to tyranny and unwavering commitment to human liberty, should also create space for this solemn remembrance. As we reflect on that legacy, we remember that many men and women, far too numerous to mention individually, who sacrificed shaped Nigeria's democratic journey of Europe. Whether through imprisonment or assassination, torture or intimidation, these men and women bore heavy personal burden so that future generations live under the rule of law rather than the rule of fear. Their stories remind us that civil courage is not an abstract ideal. It is rather the willingness to stand for what is right, even when the consequences are severe and deadly. At the national level, Vila Tabiola, Fred Wani, Ola Ige, Delekiwa, Kensarua, and the Mbuni line mentioned too. As we honor their memories today, may we also recommit ourselves to completing the work for which they sacrificed so much, building a Nigeria founded on justice, accountability, constitutional governance, and respect for dignity of every citizen. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound honor. We have been invited to chair 28th Soyinka lecture series, and I do not take that responsibility lightly. It is also a deeply personal privilege, and I hope the House will indulge me as I explain just a little. My association, and indeed that of any of us gathered here with Prof, did not begin this ceremony. It stretches back more than 4 decades and has profoundly shaped my understanding of what it represents to our nation. In 2006, Professor Soyinka, under the auspices of the Commission of Nobel Laureates was part of an international mission that visited the Niger Delta to promote peaceful dialogue and undertake fact-finding exercise in the region. It was in that connection, or in connection with that mission, that he and his delegation, which included Tony Ranta, the late Tony Ranta, and Kilo Briggs and others, visited the Niger Delta Development Commission, where I served as executive director. After listening to our presentation, he remarked that the NDDC had taken an enormous burden on behalf of a beleaguered region and deserved to be remembered as one of the positive initiatives of Passenger administration, adding that with characteristic generosity, I will remember to commend him when next I see him. 2 years later, in 2008, my late wife, Mrs. Alaiwe, extended an invitation to our Nobel laureates, who was then in the United States of America, immersed in an exceptionally demanding schedule. Despite the distance and the many competing demands of his time, he graciously accepted and traveled to a Banwari community in Bukukuma, Bayelsa State, to inaugurate the Wole Soyinka Library, still there. An initiative of our organization, the Family Education and Empowerment Free. What made that visit even more remarkable was that our guest of honor did not merely fly in to perform a ceremonial duty and depart. He chose to spend the night in our modest country home in that remote riverine community. For a man of such global stature, a Nobel laureate whose voice commanded respect across continents, it was an extraordinary act of humility. Let me add that he also tried the local violence and a future built on peace rather than conflict. With characteristic moral clarity, he challenged them to embrace what he memorably described, and I quote, as intellectual militancy in the pursuit of the region's development. It was a powerful call to exchange the force of weapon one's travel, and a willingness to stand with people wherever they are. That's called civil courage. That is principled leadership. That is accountability. Exercise wisdom and humility. Sir, on behalf of my family and the countless individuals and communities whose lives you have quietly inspired over the decades, I offer our prayers of gratitude. Thank you, sir. The team chosen for this year's lecture, Reclaiming the Nigerian State Through Accountability, Justice and Courage, speaks directly to the realities of Nigeria we inhabit, the nation as well aspire to build, the nation we aspire to build. Nigeria is blessed with extraordinary human talent, abundant national resources, and remarkable resilience. Yet, we fall short of our collective potential. Our national challenge has never been lack of diagnosis. It has been a failure to act consistently on what we already know. Too often, institutions designed to hold power accountable have been weakened. Justice for many Nigerians remain a privilege rather than rights. This gathering cannot, in good conscience, speak of reclaiming Nigerian state without confronting one of the cardinal evils of the national security, that the national security was founded to put it. And I say tribalism. From its very beginning, NAS has stood against colonialism, partisanship, clannishness, ethnic chauvinism, and statism, while upholding and enduring values of nationalism, absolute honesty, absolute selflessness, and love for all. Today, we must be honest with ourselves. Those values are being steadily eroded, and their essence is fast disappearing. Tribalism has become less an individual prejudice than a systemic condition coursing through our national bloodstream and eating away at the very fabric of our society. It should trouble us deeply if members of national leaders have at times also fallen short of these enduring ideals. Reclaiming the Nigerian state must therefore begin with reclaiming ourselves by ensuring that the principles we so proudly profess are applied consistently without fear or failure, irrespective of tribe, political affiliation, or the identity of those who wield power. Ultimately, accountability is sustained not by laws alone, but by the courage of men and women who insist that those laws apply equally to the powerful and to the powerless. Civil courage, the willingness of citizens and institutions to stand for what is right, even at personal cost, has not always risen to meet the defining moments of our national life. It is precisely here that the example of NAS and Professor Wole himself becomes profoundly relevant. Reclaiming the Nigerian state will be achieved not by a single dramatic event, but through the steady accumulation of principled choices by citizens who refuse to be indifferent, institutions that remain faithful to their mandates, and leaders who choose integrity over expediency and courage and over confidence. I would say the public service, particularly the regional development and institutional reform in Niger Delta, have reinforced one enduring lesson. Sustainable development cannot exist where accountability is absent. Where institutions are weak, hope gives way to cynicism. Where accountability is upheld, even limited resources can produce lasting impact. As we prepare for today's keynote address, I encourage us all, whether we serve in government, private sector, academia, civil society, to resist the temptation to treat this as merely another ceremonial gathering. Let us approach it instead as an occasion for honest reflection and renewed commitment to rebuilding our nation. For nations are not reclaimed by rhetoric alone. They are reclaimed when conscience triumphs over convenience, when institutions are stronger than individuals, when citizens summon the courage to do what is right, even when it is difficult. Once again, Prof, happy 92nd birthday. May your candor continue to outlast every attempt to domesticate it. May your example remind us that the true measure of patriotism is not comfort, but conscience. Ladies and gentlemen, let us leave this gathering determined not merely to admire these ideals, but to live them. It is now my privilege to formally declare the Wole Soyinka lecture series open and my singular and not Chidoka to deliver its address. Thank you very much, our former Executive Director, NDDC. We are grateful. Thank you very much for letting us know how you received Professor Wole Soyinka in the Greece. We shall visit you as well. Please, the chairman has already invited our keynote speaker. If you turn to page 13 of the brochure, the brief profile of our keynote speaker has been presented there. But because it is my duty also to present him still, I'll provide a briefer version of what has been put there. Our keynote speaker, sir, you're welcome. You may rise. Let's appreciate him, please. If Osita Kidoka comes to this lecture with please. I am told that even in heaven there is hierarchy. Yes. And I'm told here that Professor Wole Soyinka comes before you. Please sit down, sir. Okay. LOC. We left heaven a long time ago. Thank you very much. Because of want of time, we'd like to move on very quickly. At this point, it is my privilege to present to us Chief Osita Chidoka. He comes to this lecture with experience from inside the machinery of the Nigerian state. He served as Corps Marshal and Chief Executive of the Federal Road Safety Corps from 2007 to 2014, and later as Minister of Aviation. He is presently Chancellor of the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. The official record of his FRSC tenure associates his leadership with the introduction of the new number plate system and enhanced driver's license and significant technological advancements in the Corps. That experience makes his presence relevant to a field concerned not only with criticizing state failure, but with rebuilding rules, processes, and institutions. The central challenge today is therefore practical as well as philosophical. How can accountability be designed into public system? How can technology and evidence improve service delivery? And how can leadership convert public authority into measurable public value? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to us our keynote speaker, Chief Osita Chidoka. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. I want to stand on the protocols established by the NAS and just align myself in wishing Professor Wole Soyinka a happy birthday and saying may his days be longer and stronger. I also want to use this opportunity to say that when I became the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety, one of the benefits I got was that people always said, especially when I'm abroad, is that the one, are you the one after Professor Wole Soyinka? And I quickly say yes. I ignore all the other ones and ignore the fact that he was chairman and not Corps Marshal. That Oluwagunloye was the Corps Marshal. So I quickly always say yes, because that was the concept
of road safety in Nigeria is strongly attached to the name of Professor Wole Soyinka. And I enjoy the benefits of being a successor of Professor Wole Soyinka without paying him all the tributes. But part of what I did was to name the first estate we built in FRSC after Professor Wole Soyinka. But the more important thing and the personal one for me was that my wife and son wanted to be here today. Because when he came to commission that estate, my son was 6 months old. His name is Chinua because of my love of literature. And the first thing we did in my office before we went for the lunch was that my wife came with Chinua and we had a photograph with Professor Wole Soyinka, which is very conspicuously displayed in our house in Obosi. So today, Chinua is now 17 years, about to go to university, and we hope to recreate that picture again. My wife, Chinua, and Professor Wole Soyinka. And we thought today would have been a good opportunity, but we couldn't arrange the logistics. So, Prof, happy birthday, and my pleasure to be here today. So, I am grateful to the National Association of Sea Dogs for the honor of this invitation and for the responsibility of delivering the 28th Wole Soyinka lecture. Prof is here with us today. He turned 92 this month, and rather than accept the lecture named after him from a distance, we came to Port Harcourt to sit through it. That is not a ceremonial detail. It is the argument that this lecture is about to make. Standing in this room, before I have said a word of it, he has made all the arguments. In 1967, at 33, he traveled to Enugu to explore a peaceful alternative to war. The federal government imprisoned you for that intervention. Everything I say this afternoon about accountability, about justice and civic courage is in the end an attempt to describe the choice you made then. NAS has honored this memory before. Today, for the first time, it gives that memory a public standing form, the Martyr's Day, inaugurated and joined onto this lecture. Memory is good. Martyr's Day is necessary. A country that forgets the victims of power prepares the ground for power to produce new victims. But memory cannot be our final destination. What the suffering of the F-18 survivors now require of us is an honest answer to another question. What kind of country made this ordeal possible in 1997? And why nearly 3 decades later, does the Nigerian citizen remain vulnerable to both state and non-state actors? That for me is the core of this lecture. So that is why the title of the lecture, Reclaiming the Nigerian State Through Accountability, Justice, and Civic Courage, matters. These are familiar words in Nigeria, in Nigerian public life. We use them so often that we sometimes forget to ask, whose shop is demolished without notice, while the powerful regularize their own violations? What is civic courage? A civil servant who knows that an instruction is unlawful, but also knows that refusal may cost a career. If these 3 words are to help renew Nigeria, we must recover their meaning from our own history, our constitutional order, and the promise made at the birth of this nation. Nigeria approached independence with hope. Permit me to take you through a little bit of history. At the London Constitutional Conference in 1957, one of the difficult questions was what kind of Nigeria will emerge and whether the minorities within each of the 3 large regions will be safe from the domination of the majorities. The Middle Belt, then the Midwest, Calabar, Ogoja, and Rivers, where we're sitting today, minorities all pressed for protection or regions of their own. Before Nigeria was born, one of his first constitutional questions was already the fear of oppression. That was fundamental to the formation of Nigeria. The British government decided that this was such a serious matter that they appointed a commission led by Sir Henry Wole to investigate these fears. Are these really genuine fears? The commission rejected the demand for new states. A caution history will later overturn. We created states as we went on. But he recognized that the fears were genuine, and he recommended a Bill of Rights as a standard to which citizens could appeal when their rights were infringed. Special arrangement for minority areas and a federal board to address the peculiar neglect of the Niger Delta. This was 1957. It sounds like this meeting was happening this year, because the same fears, the same issue is why we are gathered in this room today. The fundamental rights provisions in our constitution was not part of our constitution as we went to 1960. It was a bargain for independence. I want you to note this, that when we talk about the fundamental rights in our constitution, it wasn't a choice that was primarily in the constitution. It was a bargain to determine the birth of a new nation, that we were going to have these fundamental rights to deal with the issue of oppression. So Nigeria was fundamentally formed with the philosophy that no man will be oppressed. And that is why that decision was made. Nigerian nationhood, not decoration, added once the real business of power had been settled. Minority protection was not an act of charity by the majority. It was a condition for our coexistence. Then in 1959, we had a competition to produce a national anthem. Many people still quarrel that it's done by a foreigner. Nigeria will build the anthem that will become Nigeria's into independence. His writer was Lillian Jean William. She was a British expatriate. That origin attracted criticism. But it should not stop us from examining the moral contents of those words. I will not claim William wrote in direct response to the Willing report. No evidence establishes that. But the anthem and the commission came from the same historical moment and addressed the same national question. The Willing Commission was Law's answer to the fears surrounding Nigeria's birth. The independence anthem was poetry's answer to his hope. One sought to protect citizens and minorities from domination. The other, that is the anthem, imagined Nigerians overcoming differences of ethnicity and language, building a common brotherhood, making truth and justice the character of public life, and handing the next generation a banner without stain. He then turned to God and asked for a country in which no man is oppressed. That was the mood of 1960. In 2017, at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, I was the first lecturer of the youth lecture series of the library. In that library, I turned to President Obasanjo and I said, "Why did you change our national anthem?" He said, "Oh, because it was done by a foreigner." I said, "But it was a competition. It didn't matter who won the competition." Because that anthem reflected our vision and our hope. By 1978, when he did his own competition to bring the anthem, our mood as a nation has shifted. We had finished a civil war. The military were in power. We had economic boom. Imagine Americans rewriting the Bill of Rights in America. The words that said, "We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal." If you have done 70 years further to rewrite that statement, America will have been a different country today. So I said, in that speech, I said, the idea of a Black nation where no man is oppressed appears to me as a foundation upon which we can construct a nation so diverse and yet so similar, where though tribes and tongues differ, we can stand in brotherhood. A country where minority rights are protected and individual rights guaranteed. 9 years later, I remain convinced of that argument. I'm back here on this podium, and I want to especially, because since 2017, 2014, I've been writing about this old national anthem. So imagine my joy when President Tinubu brought it back. I had issues with the process we used to bring it back. I would have liked a more robust national conversation. The National Assembly should have called for public hearing, but I will have been one of those that will have been on the streets canvassing for us to bring back that national anthem. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu deserves commendation for doing that. For restoring the anthem in 2024, the decision and its process, though controversial, but the president was right to return to the Nigeria that best reflected the mood, hope, and aspiration of a new nation. He also returned to public life and neglected moral vocabulary. The anthem does more than ask us to love Nigeria. It tells us what kind of Nigeria deserves our loyalty. It offers three national aspirations. First, a common national belonging, strong enough to rise above our differences. Second, a public order in which truth and justice govern the exercise of power. And each generation takes responsibility for what it hands to the next, to hand over to the next a banner without stain. Third, a nation in which oppression, whether by the state, a majority, an armed group, a wealthy individual, or a dominant community is beyond the limits of what we will tolerate. So what happened to the people on F-18 was an act of oppression. It was the only solemn prayer we had in our independence anthem. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. I even doubt that President Tinubu knows the depth of that aspiration. A nation where truth and justice shall reign, where we should hand over to the next generation a banner without stain. That, for me, in a nutshell, encapsulates the idea of Nigeria. The anthem stated the aspiration, the constitution gave it legal form. The preamble to the 1999 constitution, despite all the issues about it, whether it is a people's constitution or one written by others, I said that the American constitution were written by 50 men who were slave owners, who didn't consider women part of the constitution, or who still said, we hold this truth to be self-evident. And the American population appropriated it. That in the 1960s, it became the basis of the civil rights movement. So the fact of where a constitution is born, though important, is not as important as appropriating its purpose and meaning and translating it into a fact of our life. Section 14 states that sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government derives all its power and authority, and that the security and welfare of the people are the primary purpose of government. That is the constitutional foundation of accountability. Power is held in trust. Its holder must explain its use, submit to scrutiny, and accept correction when it is abused. Section 17 says that the social order is founded on freedom, equality, and justice, and demands equality of rights and opportunities before the law, respect for the human person, humane governmental action, independent courts, and access to justice. That is the constitutional meaning of justice, equality in the experience of citizenship. The worth of a Nigeria must not rise or fall with wealth, ethnicity, religion, gender, political party, or proximity to power. Section 22 requires the mass media to uphold the responsibility and accountability of government to the people. Section 24 requires citizens to respect the dignity and rights of others, live in unity and harmony, and contribute positively to its communities. And in the oaths taken by presidents, governors, ministers, and judges, the Constitution demands that public officers do right to all manner of people according to law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. That is perhaps the closest expression of civic courage in our constitutional ethos. Doing right when fear advises silence, when favor offers a reward, when affection demands partiality, and when ill will seeks revenge. Most of these provisions belong to Chapter 2 of our Constitution and are not by themselves directly enforceable in courts. But they remain the Constitution's clearest statement of the purposes by which Nigerian power should be judged. The anthem gave us a destination. The Constitution gave us the rules. Our history records the distance between them, between our destination and the rules. Why nearly 66 years after independence have we not built a common national belonging strong enough to command the first loyalty of the citizen? The Constitution itself recognizes the problem. It requires the composition and conduct of government to reflect our diversity, promote national unity, and command national loyalty and give every Nigerian a sense of belonging. But belonging cannot be legislated into existence. It is produced by the repeated experience of fair treatment. When the former state is unreliable, loyalty migrates to the politician who can make the phone call, the officer who knows the ethnic union, religious network, community strongman, or wealthy person. This is often a national response to an unreliable state. And again, I think that is where the government of President Buhari and Tinubu has missed a mark. The requirements for national diversity is not a choice. It is a constitutional provision. It is at the foundation of the founding of the Nigerian state. It is the meaning of us coming together to say no tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. So the idea that you can selectively decide how to share national positions to either your party or ethnic group is fundamentally a fight against the Nigerian constitution, against the agreement that led us to independence. That agreement was what made us to have those fundamental rights and to write the chapter 2 of our constitution. So we must, in fighting for justice, make it understood that no government has the choice to choose between what the constitution recommends and what it chooses to bring to Nigeria. It is not a choice. Every time a qualified citizen is rejected as non-indigent, a victim needs an influential person before the police will act, or public opportunity is distributed by identity and connection. Nigeria loses ground to its component loyalties. We have not consistently stood in common brotherhood because the experience of citizenship has not been common. The F-18 story belongs inside this larger failure of nationhood. On 18 February, according to the reports of the National Association of CDOMs, members and prospective members of NAS gathered here in Port Harcourt for an admission exercise at a venue temporarily restricted for members-only activity. A mobile police officer turns up, who was asked to return later. He felt slighted. He came back with another officer. Explanations were offered. They did not resolve the matter. Then came the radio message on an open police frequency. The sea dogs were described as persons suspected of association with Nadeko, which was a code word for opposition. That level activated the coercive power of the state. Members and applicants were rounded up, tied together, beaten, and detained. A lawyer who approached as counsel was assaulted and arrested. At Boricam, the detainees were stripped, crowded into cells, and subjected to degrading treatment. As the days passed, the allegations started changing. First, they were Nadeko. Then they became the foot soldiers of Professor Wole Soyinka. Finally, they were called members of a secret cult. The state had acted first and gone looking for justification afterwards. One man supplied the grievance, another supplied the label. Everyone else supplied the vehicles, the weapons, the cells, and the official cover. At every stage, somebody could have stopped it. Nobody did. That is what I call later in this lecture the alibi culture. I have developed a theory that the world is divided between two worldviews, the culture of alibi and the culture of agency. The culture of alibi is the culture that makes excuses for everything. So we will say it is the colonial rule, then we will say it is ethnic issues, then we will say it is tribalism. But nothing in our constitution allows the misbehavior that has become the conduct of government. But we always create excuses. The culture of agency is the culture where people take responsibility. There is no road here. It's a mountain, we do a tunnel. It is a river, we do a bridge. They take responsibility for their decision. And I believe that the geography of the world is divided between cultures of agency and cultures of alibi. The cultures of agency are at the global north, and the cultures of alibi are in the global south. Any country that continues to provide alibi will never make progress as a country. So I continue back to the F-18 incident. 33 survivors spent 72 days in detention. On 30th April 1997, the River State High Court in Port Harcourt ordered their release. The first level did not die with the military rule. In 2009, the River State High Court held that NAS was not a secret court, declared its inclusion in the state's prohibition law unconstitutional, and restrained the state from treating it as one. When NAS was again listed under an amended law, the Rivers High Court reaffirmed its position in 2020. The judicial vindication matters to this lecture. F18 is the story of the state abusing law. The later judgments are the story of citizens using law to reclaim the state. Justice here is measured by something more exacting than a favorable judgment. Capacity to compel power to confront evidence, withdraw a false label, and submit the rule it did not write for its own convenience. That was what the significance. But everybody will say, F18 happened, it was the military, right? So Nigeria has changed. Civilians have come to power. That kind of behavior is no more possible. But it will be very comforting to place F18 inside the history of military dictatorship. But 8 years later, 8 years, under an elected government and a constitution with a full chapter on fundamental rights, 6 young Nigerians were killed by police officers in Abuja in what became known as Apo 6. 5 men and 1 woman were stopped at a roadblock in June 2005. By the next day, all 6 were dead, and their bodies were presented to the media as those of armed robbers. Again, false labels, false accusation. A judicial commission found no threats to the officers that could justify the killings. The record disclosed familiar ingredients, false labeling, weapons planted on the victims, falsified records, and attempt to make the evidence fit the violence after the fact. In F18, a false label was used to justify detention. In Abu, a false label was used to justify death. The F18 detainees survived long enough to challenge the label. The Apo 6 did not. Between F18 and Apo 6, Nigeria changed the uniform of its rulers. It did not sufficiently change the reflexes of its power. Since then, violence has deepened. And the state is no longer the only threat. Terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, armed gangs, and mobs impose their will on citizens to using grievance, faith, ethnicity, ideology, and profit to execute the domination of one Nigeria by another. But the state carries the first duty to protect, and it must perform that duty without becoming an oppressor itself. So this is 2016. Since 2010, Nigeria has been at a war in Borno State. Nigeria has been at a war that has consumed senior major generals. In the last 1 year, 2 major generals have died in that war. While we are in the south going about our normal business, Nigeria is under severe threat of a fundamentalist ideology that is designed to want to impose its will on the Nigerian state. Here is the plainest way I can put it. Nigeria's crisis is not that the state is weak. Its state is selectively strong. Strong when collecting from the citizen, weak when delivering to the citizens. That is the paradox of Nigeria. Strong when coercing, weak when explaining. Loud when announcing, quiet when completing. It was loud in announcing F18 as Nadeko. It was announced loud, but it hasn't been loud to come back and say, this, our government did something wrong, and we hold ourselves accountable. If you remember the story of the Central Park 5 in New York, long after the event happened, they went for a civil suit and they got almost $100 and something million as compensation. Nigeria must learn that the state does not end when the matter is cleared in court, that the state must be held accountable for its acts. And I hope there is no statute of limitation in holding the state accountable for what its agent has done. It doesn't matter whether the regimes have changed. And a time must come when we as a country must remember that our prayer to God is help us build a nation where no man is oppressed. And anybody that is oppressed must seek for vengeance from the government, must seek for retribution, that the government must pay for what it has done to its citizens. Fierce against the unconnected and strangely gently around the powerful. A country whose power is not organized around a moral ideal will use force without purpose. distribute favor without principle, and demand loyalty without earning trust, Nigeria is still searching for that organizing label. By a new national consensus, I do not mean restructuring, and I'm not arguing for a return to the 1963 Constitution. Nigerians always say, oh, let's go back to the regions. But they all forget that it was the 1963 Constitution that led us to a civil war. If you go to the 1963 Constitution, in 1964, the whole Eastern Nigeria boycotted the federal elections. And that was why for 5 days, Ahmadu Bello and Tafawa Balewa could not be called by Zik to form a government. Because he said, I have 162 seats. That's what the Constitution requires. But Zik said, a whole region boycotted the election. That is why the framers of 1979 Constitution said, you will win not just majority of the vote, but 25% in at least 2/3 of the state. To correct for that abnormal situation where a whole region boycotts an election and yet the winner emerges without the other parts of the country contributing. So it is our federal arrangement needs serious repairs. Devolution, fiscal responsibility, policing, and local government cannot be replaced. But structure is not a substitute for purpose. And I want to make this clear. A federation can be decentralized and still be unjust. A regional government can oppress a local minority. A state police service can protect a governor rather than the citizen. Since the state creation of Benue State, it has always had only thief governors. No Idoma person has been governor. So you can have a decentralized state, and yet the majority will not allow the minority to bear. So a regional government, a state police service can protect a governor rather than the citizens. More revenues can be transferred without more accountability. And we have seen it in this regime. After the fuel subsidy removal, more revenue has gone, but less accountability from the states. Nor can the 1963 Constitution become a talisman. It emerged from a smaller, more agrarian Nigerian organized around powerful region. It holds lessons worth recovering, but not ready-made answers to today's megacities, mass migration, digital networks, decentralized violence, and complex citizenship claims. We need a minimum moral settlement about what Nigeria is for, built on 3 commitments already present in our independence anthem. First, every Nigerian possesses equal citizenship. No Nigerian should require an ethnic sponsor, political godfather, or personal connection to receive the protection of the law anywhere in the Federation. Second, public power is a trust. Every exercise of public power must leave a trail, submit to scrutiny, and produce correction when it fails. Third, our common belonging imposes a duty to defend the dignity and freedom of other Nigerians, especially when they are not members of our party, faith, community, or ethnic group. These are the minimum conditions for a shared country, and they give practical meaning to accountability, justice, and civic courage. In ordinary Nigerian usage, to hold a person accountable means the person must answer. But we have confused an answer with accountability. An official explains and moves on. A committee reports, an audit raises a query, a court declares an action unlawful, but nothing changes. Explanation without correction is not accountability. We must stop making accountability the fact that you presented an audited report. Correction must follow accountability. Explanation without correction is not accountability. This is the distinction I have drawn for years between alibi culture and agency culture. Alibi culture spends its energy explaining why responsibility belongs to someone else. Everyone has an explanation. Nobody owns the results. F-18 was possible precisely because nobody in the chain owned the outcome. One person could blame the radio message, another in superior order, while others merely drove the vehicle, gathered the cells, prepared the charge, or followed procedure. Agency culture asks a different question. What responsibility did I hold? What did I know? What did I do? And what should I have refused to do? An institution fails the moment everyone performs a task and no one owns the outcome. Moving a country from alibi culture to agency culture is not a slogan. It requires complete change. And I describe that change in 3 words. Trace, test, correct. You must trace the decision to the person. We must find who gave that instruction. It is not enough that the court said it was an illegal instruction. Who gave that instruction? That was the principle established in the Nuremberg trials. Who gave that instruction? We must test it through scrutiny. The decision maker does not control. So we can't tell the government, no, you do it. No, we must scrutinize the decision maker. This is your decision you took. Did you follow the rules? Then we must correct the failure through restitution, reform, or proportionate sanction. There is nothing like signing for governor. We must know who that person who signed for governor, who took that decision, and we must punish or restitute. I have spent much of my working life inside the machinery of Nigerian states, at the Federal Road Safety Corps, in the aviation sector, and inside the presidency. And one lesson has never left me. Nigeria really lacks rules. What it lacks is the settled expectation that a rule will be enforced consistently, including against the person with rank, wealth, or a long convoy. At the FRSC, the father's task was never writing a traffic regulation. It was convincing the ordinary road user that the regulation reached beyond him to the commercial driver, to the government vehicle, to the important person traveling with convoys and outriders. An institution in the end is simply the expectation lodged in the minds of the citizen that the rule means what it says. I have a story I normally tell about simple rules. On the day President Biden was being sworn in, I was watching on TV, and I saw that his vehicle, the plate number of the beast was 46, the number of the president. But underneath that 46 were tags, the same tags we have in our vehicles in America. Anybody who lives in America, you will have 2021, 2024, denoting that you have paid for the year, the licensing fee. On that vehicle of the president, they had 2020, showing that the presidential car paid for his vehicle license with the DC government, with the DC local government. That for me is the meaning of accountability. That for me is what tells the difference between rules and keeping those rules. The president's convoy in Nigeria is covered. The governor's convoy is covered. They do not pay a simple matter to the local government, which is pay for your annual licensing fees. In most cases, it is 30-something thousand naira. But the fact that the rich and the powerful do not pay it makes making rules in Nigeria what I would call just a ceremony. It's performative. A level probably must make responsibility traceable. Every detainee should enter an auditable custody record. Every audit is finding a trigger time bound. Justice is often discussed as though it begins when a case enters court. For most Nigeria, it begins much earlier. When an officer decides whom to stop, a complaint is believed or ignored, bail is considered, a child seeks admission, and a court order reaches a government agency. Consider this. The Nigerian Correctional Service own figure, this is not my figure, this year, shows that 64% of the people in the country's custodial centers, more than 50,000 Nigerians, are awaiting trial. They have not been convicted of anything. Each of these 50,000 is a life in suspension, a job loss, a family destabilized, health failings. Yet, when the state causes that delay and the citizens pay for it in lost liberty, the delay is not inefficiency. It is a form of violence carried out by the state itself. 64% of our people in jail are awaiting trial. And the average years are expanding every year. The average years are somewhere between 4 and 5 years that people are beginning to spend in detention. Justice means that the rule does not change with the identity of the citizen. It means arrest follows evidence. Detention stays visible to lawyers. A citizen who defeats government in court should not have to begin a second struggle just to make government obey. Justice is also tested by how we treat people we dislike. The law is not established when it protects only our friends. Justice defends the accused, the unpopular, the political opponents, and the minority, because citizenship does not depend on agreement. Where justice is negotiable, citizenship becomes hierarchical. Civic courage is the bridge between constitutional promise and public conduct. It has nothing to do with noise, insult, or disinformation. It does not evaporate the moment our own candidate takes office. The true test of civic conviction is whether our values survive the arrival of our person in office, the person we supported. Civic courage is the officer who refuses an unlawful order. It is the civil servant who records an objection instead of staying silent. The accountant who refuses to conceal an unlawful payment is defending this republic. The engineer who refuses to certify an unsafe structure is defending this republic. The lawyer who refuses to manufacture a justification for abuse is defending this republic. The doctor who documents the true sign of torture is defending this republic. The journalist who publishes verified truth despite pressure is defending this republic. The party member who condemns wrongdoings of his own side is defending this republic. None of these acts will ever earn a national honor. They are the ordinary, amorous acts through which a constitutional state survives. In Nigeria today, when we want to hand over a government, we're looking for the most pliable person, the person that agrees with the governor, the person that is loyal to hand over to. But at the end of the day, the Nigerian state is the loser because competition has been destroyed. Ability to stand up and speak through to power has been destroyed in our states because the person who gets on top is the person who complies most. So, Professor, you did not wait for Nigeria to become safe before you spoke. You did not wait for the war to end before you tried to stop it. Civic courage, as you have lived it, is not the privilege of a safe season. It is the discipline of acting in whatever season is actually available to a season. We must all be careful not to romanticize courage. The fact that Professor Wole Soyinka went to the East, the fact that he spoke, the man dies in us. But I am one of those who view a healthy country should not require every honest citizen to become a martyr in order to do the right things. Courage is necessary, but it is the duty of institutions to lower the price of courage. That requires whistleblowers' protection, independent complaint channels, professional bodies willing to defend ethical conduct, legal support for civic actors, and consequences for retaliation. The objective is not to produce more martyrs. It is to build a country in which courage can live and to lower the price of courage. They do not have to spend 72 days in detention for us to build a new nation. So the National Association of Sea Dogs began in 1952 with 7 young men at university. Organize citizenship, not a death wish. It should remind them that law can be abused, as it was during the F-18, and reclaimed as NAS did in court. And it should ask something of NAS itself, not only of government. The best way to honor the F-18 survivors is to defend citizens who do not belong to this association. The deepest meaning of brotherhood is not solidarity with one's own. It is the decision that no Nigerian should face arbitrary power alone, because we have experienced it. That is the message from NAS. NAS has experienced oppression, and no other Nigerian should suffer oppression. That should be the message of this Martyr's Day. Let Martyr's Day become an annual national forum on civic freedom. Let NAS lend its institutional strength to custody accountability, protection of civic actors, and obedience to court orders. Let the memory of 33 survivors become a shield for citizens whose names NAS may never know. This is how an organization born in youthful idealism keeps faith with its own founding conviction against all moribund conventions. That is how memory becomes agency and not alibi. So let me close with the argument at the heart of this lecture. What Nigeria lacks is not better structure, so much as sufficiently shared organizing ideals. We inherited a territory, negotiated constitutions, created states, fought a war to keep the country together, and returned repeatedly to civilian rule. But we have not agreed what Nigerian power is for, what citizenship must guarantee, and what Nigeria owes one another. We have not developed the Nigerian consensus. We have not developed our own Nigerian agreement. The answer will not be found in nostalgia for 1963 or in restructuring alone, because I believe that all those who ask for restructuring are doing a positive work, but they are refraining from dealing with the fierce urgency of now. While we are waiting for restructuring, governors are pocketing security votes. While we are waiting for restructuring, governments, our resources are being pillaged in Nigeria. While we are waiting for this restructuring, 50,000 Nigerians are in jail, unaccounted for. Nobody speaks about them. While we are waiting for restructuring, our cities are becoming mega slums. So while I would like the idea of restructuring, I believe in the fierce urgency of now. And that is the difference. We must never cancel our common belonging. That truth, justice, and answerability must govern public power. And that no person, group, or institution has the right to oppress another Nigerian. Accountability is how we prevent power from stealing the banner. Justice is how we make equal citizenship real. Civic courage is how we defend, both when tribe, party, fear, or convenience ask us to look away. The anthem gave us the destination. The Constitution gave us the legal form. F-18 and APO6 reveal the distance still to travel. Our task is to build a bridge. President Tinubu has returned the words of our independence aspiration. Our generation must now return meaning to those words. Alibi culture made F-18 and APO6 possible. A state that could explain itself and never correct itself. Agency culture is how we prevent this repetition. The true monument to the F-18 survivors is not a speech, a plaque, or a moment of silence once a year. It is a Nigerian state that can no longer do to another citizen what was done to them. That is the true monument to them. A state that does not act before it knows. A state that cannot hide a citizen in custody. A state that obeys its own courts. A state in which power leaves a trail and wrongdoing meets consequences. A country in which citizens defend the right of others, not only the rights of their own. Professor Wole Soyinka, you have spent 92 years refusing moribund conventions. Let us construct answerable power and common broad. Build a Nigeria where courage can lead.
Thank you. Fair treatment is not
Many things that there is nothing in our constitution that defends quite enough number of things. Is the need to develop the Nigerian truth. Justice at the bridge between to give comment. You are welcome, sir. He is the ruler of our Rumweme Kingdom. We have with us Chief D.K. Sam Nwoko. We also have Chief Honorable Bright. Professor Shikwade, you are real scholar, cultural thinker, we
And when we were done, I asked him, "You haven't had any salad or fruits, dessert or supplement?" He told me those things kill. And that this is the secret of his longevity. So for those of you who want to hit 92, please take this into account.
That's the one.
But do it in moderation.
Yeah.
He also told me that he started a long time ago to take Kai to the US. Is it Kai? What was it you told me you packaged? One of the above. And then he learned how to preserve it so it doesn't ferment in the journey there. But we wish you a happy 92nd birthday. We'll be around for your 93rd and your 94th and your 95th. Just celebrate me. All right. We're going into a panel now, and this is going to be exciting. This is not going to be your normal, you listen to people talk your ear off for 4 or 5 minutes. This is going to be about their souls and what they really understand to mean by reclaiming Nigeria under the 3 items, which are accountability, justice, and courage. I will walk you through the process so that there will be hopefully excitement and prepare the panelists. But first, I'd like to introduce each one of them. I will start with Professor Obari Gomba. Professor Obari Gomba comes to this conversation as one of Nigeria's most distinguished literary voices. He's a prize-winning poet, a playwright, a scholar, an editor, a teacher, and a cultural thinker, whose work sits confidently at the intersection of art, memory, justice, identity, and public conscience. This makes him perfect for this conversation. He is the winner of the 2023 Nigeria Prize for Literature for Grit, one of Africa's most prestigious literary honors, with a prize value of $100,000 US. So you would do the needful after this panel. He is also a recipient of the Pan-African Writers Association Poetry Prize, the Rivers ANA Distinguished Writer Award, and the Halogen Award for Poetry. He's a former Kangaroo Poetry Festival Poet of the Year and a multiple winner of prizes of the Association of Nigerian Authors. His acclaimed body of work includes Pearls of the Mangrove, Thunder Protocol, The Lit of the Rebel, For Every Homeland, Guerrilla Post, Free Troubles, and Grit. As a professor of English and Literary Studies at the University of Port Harcourt, an honorary fellow in writing of the University of Iowa, a former Torch Global South visiting professor, and a visiting fellow at All Souls College, Oxford, and vice president of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Professor Gomba brings to this panel the rare authority of a writer who has not only shaped literature on the page, but has deepened the intellectual and cultural conversation about what literature must do for society on all international and global panels. Please welcome Professor Gomba. Next up, I will introduce to you, well, she really needs no introduction. We watch her every day on TV and dancing and shaking her waist all over Africa. But I'd like to introduce you to Hilda Dokubo. She comes to the panel as one of Nigeria's most compelling, creative, and civic voices. An award-winning actor, acting coach, activist, author, public speaker, troublemaker, youth advocate, and a cultural leader whose influence reaches far beyond the screen. A distinguished alumna of the University of Port Harcourt and one of Nollywood's most enduring talents, she has built a career defined by emotional truth, artistic discipline, and fearless engagement with the issues that shape society in 2024. Her decades of contribution to African film were recognized with the Africa in the film industry. Her extensive body of work spans more than 150 screen productions and includes performances that have earned We have more than one mic. Okay, so the first question I would like to, and we'll always start with the ladies. Yes, gender inequality. I represent it. All right. So the word reclaim means that you don't like business as usual today, and you want to either go back to something or take back something that you had before. So to each one of you, and starting with Ms. Nunez, when Nigerians say they are tired of business as usual, what exactly must change first? The people who hold power, the systems that protect bad behavior, or the silence of citizens who know better? These three characters were described in our keynote speech by Osita Kidokan. So, is it the people who hold power, the systems that protect bad behavior, or the silence of citizens who know better?
I think I'll answer, but my position today is a bit special. Prof, happy birthday, happy 92nd birthday. I actually honor this invitation, especially to be here for your birthday. And I want to thank members of the National Association for standing with me during the NDDC saga and coming up with your song, which went viral. It's okay, it's okay. Honorable Minister of your mind. I really want to thank you for being here, and I just want to correct and remind Dr. Terry that that piratical name was given at Obuta Panel by Area Mutiny, Gotuan Nasali, and yourselves that gave me that piratical name, Asisi Nagogo, the wicked woman. So I'm very happy to be here. Now, straight to your to answer your question, I think it's actually those in power first, and then the people. When I say those in power, like Chief Osita said, Nyoka said, the laws are there. I give you an example, the Public Procurement Act. The laws are there, but the people in government are not ready to implement those laws. For example, the National Council for Public Procurement has not ever been set up. And it's supposed to curb corruption in Nigeria. That is the basis. But nobody has done that. Now about the citizens. As soon as you are appointed, and I'm speaking from experience, your friends, your relatives, classmates, associates, what has she done for you? And so I'm coming from the Niger Delta. I knew like 80 to 90% of the contractors. I knew those who had not done their job. Some of them were my friends. How was I going to operate on that level? So I had to take the bold decision to harden my heart. And everyone here, at least most people who live in Port Harcourt, will testify that most of the contractors went back to site even when the forensic audit hadn't even started, because I wasn't ready to compromise. So Nigerians themselves need the orientation. They need to know that because you have appointed someone, if someone has been your friends or family members have been appointed, doesn't mean it's now. They want to be the contractors, they want to do all the deals, but they're not ready to go to prison meeting. And I thank God for that.
Thank you so much. She actually tied the two together, those who hold power and the citizens who should know better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The same question goes to you. We're changing business as usual. We're reclaiming. What should change first? Those who hold power, the systems that protect bad behavior, or citizens who should know better?
Thank you very much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of the conversation. I'm excited to be here. And I think that what this event represents is very deep and very central to our national building. Now, I'm going to say that the citizen is the primary unit of the state, of the country. The citizen. A lot depends on the citizen, a lot. Because even the people who are holding power are citizens. The basis of participation in the republic is citizenship. So, and those who are in power are constantly watching the pulse of the citizens. So that it is what the citizens allow, what power can get away with, that power perpetuates in the polity. What we do most times is that we abandon our individual rules as citizens. Each of us has a responsibility to build a Nigeria that will be fair and just. But how are we doing that? I am not excusing the holders of power. I'm saying that this country is the way it is because the majority of our citizens have not risen up to the challenges of nation building. The day Nigerians want to build their country in a manner that they will all be proud of, it will not be easy, but the journey will begin. If we are people who make excuses, if we are people who are afraid, if we are people who lack courage, if we are people who are complicit in the abuses of power, and when we are questioned, we simply say, but we're not in office. You have to understand that every citizen occupies an office, the office of the citizen. And if we are all in the relation, or if we are abusing power at our various levels of influence, we will never have the country that we dream of. We will never have a country that we're proud of. Let every Nigerian here know that you owe yourself and you owe your country a debt to build a country that we can all be proud of. If you take the responsibility, we can start from you and then we can move on to the other levels of influence. That's my first take on it.
Thank you so much. I hope you noticed how his response tied into the alibi versus the agency. He harped about the citizens who keep quiet and have an excuse for everything. But I put it to you, in our discussions, we also have to think about this thing called stomach infrastructure. It guides a lot of the silence and the behavior of our citizens. And it's a question that I will pose to you all later, because this is not rhetoric here. When we walk out of here, is there going to be any change in each one of us as a citizen? Question to you, Hilda. Without dancing, can you give a response to this? We want to change the business as usual. Who should change first? The leaders, the system, or the citizens?
Okay, I'll keep dancing. I'm a professional dancer. So get used to it. I'm an artist. I sing, I dance, and I act. And thank God, prophets here, I can put them all in writing. Happy birthday, Prof. And thank you very much to everyone who decided that I should sit. I'm honored. Just look at the person that is next to you and say you are responsible. That's my answer. We're all responsible for everything that is wrong. Every single one in this room. We're the ones who refuse to stop people when they go into what they call jungle justice, which is actually daylight murder. There is no justification for it. A 26-year-old boy, University of Jos, was killed for no reason but an iPhone that they did not even eventually find on him. A phone that was not even missing. All of us were the ones who shout, Muzum, Muzum. We're the ones who keep quiet when we should shout. We're the ones who go to the people in the office and demand things we know and not to be demanded. We're the ones steal and make them steal. We're the ones who steal our votes. We're the ones who refuse to cast our votes. We're the ones who refuse to speak up and stand up when we're required to. We, the people, the ones that they have used to constantly lie to all of us, we are the ones who need to change first. We're the ones responsible for all the alibi, and we're the ones preventing agency. So look at the person next to you and say, oh boy, you need to change. So that's where we start. When we change, then we will take back our power. We'll take back our power, and then we will change the quality of the people that we allow to sit in any kind of office, starting from your security man. Have you gone to any ministry and a security man is looking at you and saying, Oga, how far? You know what he's asking you for with how far? Bribe. And you put your hand in your pocket, bring out 500 naira and you give to him. Whatever you allow becomes approved and it is established. That's the only way we can begin to hold the people in office accountable. And then the people in office and those of us outside of the office, we together can change the system. And I think that's the order that it will work if we begin now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And finally, Professor Nyakacha, a question to you. We want to make a change. Who do we focus on? The leaders, the system, or the citizens?
My honest opinion, we must focus on the institutions. The first institution I think we must deal with in Nigeria, if we want to reclaim it as a state, is the 1999 Constitution. It is the single most dangerous document in this country. It was imposed on the people. It shouldn't be allowed to continue to be put into use. They started with the preamble, we, the people. Made by the people, it was imposed on us by the last military dictatorship, and we cannot make any progress unless and until we throw away that piece of document called the 1999 Constitution. It is a very dangerous document, and as long as we continue to use it, we will be deceiving ourselves in this country. Secondly, we must fight to make sure that INEC, which is the institution that produces our leaders, is genuinely independent. To make it genuinely independent, stop telling us that you have independent National Electoral Commission when they are all members of the same party. Let every political party nominate members into INEC at every level. Once every political party have their representatives in INEC at the national, the state, and the local government, election rigging will come to an end naturally. But anything we continue to do pretending that we have an independent National Electoral Commission is a total waste of time. Next institution is that we should introduce what I call property verification number, just like we have BVN. Every single property that anybody has must be registered. Steal all the money you can, but you must register all the property you acquire with it. And at the end of the day, just at the price of everybody, we know who owns what property, and everybody must explain how he got the money to get that property. It will be so easy that we will clean all the old people who are thieves. Buy all the cars, buy all the jets, own all the houses. Every single property, we must have property verification number. Once we do it, it will be very simple for us to clean the system at the end of the day. And we must recognize, I believe in a very strong way, that we are now an independent country. With the greatest respect to my brother Chidoka, how can you be here canvassing for a colonial national anthem? How? written by some British woman. And Tinubu, just because he has issues with Obasanjo, whatever Obasanjo did, he must brush away. We can't have that anthem. I can't wait for the day we will throw it away. And as soon as Tinubu leaves, that anthem will definitely be thrown out today. Thank you very much.
When I was introducing him, what did I tell you? That's why we put him at the end. Debate on the validity of which national anthem will not be solved in our generation. There was something he said in his speech. At the time something was being made, it was relevant for the time. So he used the national anthem in the United States as an example. If we were to write a national anthem for the United States today, it will not be what we have. So do we change our national anthem as the centuries change and the people change and the ideology change? I don't know. Maybe that's something that countries should consider, because the national anthem doesn't really mean anything to our children. They have no clue what we're talking about. So maybe that's a discourse for another day. All right. These next questions are actually specific to you and your careers. So I will start this time, since you left everyone rumbling. I'll start with you this time, sir. All right. You have worked within law, politics, and public administration. From that experience, where does accountability usually fail in government? Is it at the point of leadership, the point of the institutions that you talked about, or the point where citizens stop demanding answers?
I think the place always starts.
Accountability, where does it fail?
Issue of rule of law. Nobody must be above the law. Everybody must be under the Constitution. Once we
the
get
Constitution that you say we should get rid of.
Yes. Not that 1999 document. It is actually not the Constitution. It's a military decree. But as long as we get our institutions properly established that nobody can be above it, then we have started the process of cleaning our own system. We must never allow a situation where anybody will at any point claim to be above the law. Now, I was in the House of Representatives when Obasanjo wanted to go for a third term. And some of us at that time felt it was wrong. You can't do it. Not the legislature of Ababio today. If it were today, Obasanjo would have had his way. And today, I thank God we are celebrating Wole Soyinka, but the man has died in all the institutions in Nigeria. The legislature is gone. The judiciary is gone. Let us face it. Where we are today is where nobody expects we should be. Because we are celebrating a 92-year-old man who started fighting before he got to 33. And look at all of us here. What we have today as democracy in Nigeria is a shadow of what a democracy should be. Our whole institutions have been destroyed. Even the way and manner Tinubu reintroduced the old national anthem was grossly offensive. How dare you? But because we have a legislature that is useless, we have a judiciary that cannot even pick up its bits and pieces. The truth is that Wole Soyinka is stronger than all the rest of us at the age of 92.
Please give him back. Thank you so much, sir. All right, Ms. Hilda, your question. You have used performance, advocacy, and public voice to speak to society in ways that people feel, they can feel it because you're performing, not just understanding. How can the creative community help move Nigerians from anger or complacency and disappointment into action, courage, and shared responsibility?
When she was introducing me, she said, dancing all the way. Now she needs me to tell a story. My role as a creative and the place of creativity in re-engineering thinking and understanding. It will be a very long lecture, but let me put it in the language that we all understand. Storytelling. One way that we can begin to reorient people and motivate them and inspire them to look forward to a change that is achievable only by them is storytelling. Effective storytelling. When was the last time anybody told us the truth about how Nigeria was created? How many of us know that we were created as a product, marketed as a product, and every institution designed to fail? It is only in Nigeria that you have Commissioner for Education, Executive Advisor Education, Special Advisor Education, Assistant Advisor to Education, EA to the government on education, on a decrease. How they do us. So we need to begin to tell people the truth about who we are. Onyegocha wants the constitution changed. Do we know what the one we want to change is? Ask the average Nigerian child to tell you what's the constitution, we the people. Say it in your own language. How many of us will fit? Let's ask ourselves. So we need to begin to tell stories to our children so they can understand exactly where they are and what is proper behavior, including us. The adults in this room, every single one of us, they be like, the man catch on my head, they team man together. So we need storytelling. We need to begin to re-establish who we are in our songs and in our dances. Sorry, not the job when I know be that. We need to. Importantly, is that we must re-establish the morals and discipline. I'm sick and tired of adults telling me I suffered too much as a child being raised by my parents. But you turned out right, and now you are petting your children to stupidity. We need to do the right thing. And let's start there. Because I am a creative, let's begin to paint the true picture. The only reason Prof is Prof is that he refused for the man in him to die. Will we not kill the men in us?
Brilliant, brilliant. I want to harp on this storytelling, which is so important for the generations to come. With an example, I went to Akwa Ibom, and the Gen Zs were pushing for the fact that we need to restore the slave story and the slave historical artifacts within the state. And I asked them, where are they? And they told me in Ikorabasi, that is where the amalgamation of Nigeria was signed. Please, does anybody know where the amalgamation of Nigeria was signed? Just a wild guess. It was not Nikorabasi. How did we find this out? It wasn't even in Zubgeru. We found this out because we now went to the UK, to the society that houses all the colonial archives, because we wanted to raise money to renovate the amalgamation house, and found out that it was signed in London. Don't take my word for it, go do your research. At that point, the governor said we dodged a bullet. We would have gone to renovate and create a story that amalgamation was signed in Ikorabasi when it wasn't. But how many of us really know the truth? You can't take away storytelling. It is that I mean, it is so pivotal for every product, not just mankind. But even if you're talking about a bottle of Coke, you need to know the story behind that bottle of Coke. So storytelling, I agree with you, is one way that we can make pride rise up in the citizens to take back or reclaim the Nigerian state. Thank you. Fine. Prof, your question. As a writer and scholar whose work has consistently engaged society, memory, and justice, how can literature
files. I want to know what happened, why it happened, who is of value as a human being, and who is there for casual disposition. That is the essence that I understand of this lecture. That is why I took the trouble as a CDOS. I don't go to these colloques because I know people come and this was a duty, and this is a message to the nation, to you as citizens, as human beings, to put an end to this casual butchery, no matter what the causes are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please remain here, sir. Please remain here, sir. May I respectfully invite all the Lumaluku survivors here present to kindly
F18.
and F18. Please come on stage so you can take a photograph
Your shirts.
with Professor Wole Soyinka. All F18 with your shirt or without your shirt, please come on stage. Lumaluku F18 survivors, please come on stage and take a picture. A photograph with Professor Wole Soyinka. Thank you. We do them nothing. We do them nothing. I'm not going to carry us to baby photo. I say we do them nothing. We do them nothing. I'm not going to carry us people.
Hold on. Just 1 second, please. If you are media with a camera, phone, whatever, please just take a few steps back so that we can get the official picture, please. Thank you. Please, just a few seconds. Don't let me unleash Professor Wole Soyinka you because he has to know anything about media. Can you see? The officials, can you see? If I'll call you by name, step back, just step back 5 seconds. Step back, just step back 5 seconds. This gentleman with this apparatus here. Gentlemen, move back, move back.
Come back, look at go for that. Go back.
The gentleman in red, where it's you were waiting for exactly.
Thank you very much. Please, very quickly. Please, we want to bring this session to a close. Before we do this, we'd like to inform us that the winners of the Pius Olege Poetry and Literary Awards, they are not yet. They are not yet, but their names. Those in the category.
We have to take
We have two categories. The first is young voices, ages between 12 and 17. That is the award for poetry, Miracle Uzoigwe is the winner of that prize. Miracle is not here. The amount is 1 million naira. The winner of the prize, age between 18 and 35, emerging poets. Emerging poets is Goodness Adejare Aremu. Goodness Adejare Aremu, and the prize is 1 million naira.
Please, I'd like to inform us that we have our ongoing art exhibitions by pirates. Art over yard is at Beverly Hotel, and Beverly Hotel is just about 3 buildings away from here. Please, you are encouraged to visit this art gallery immediately after this event. So please, may I most respectfully request our keynote speaker to please come and address us in a few minutes to talk to us. Our guest keynote speaker, please, our own Chief Osita Soyinka. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Every opportunity to educate ourselves in our history is an opportunity I welcome greatly. I love debates. I love conversation because those are attributes of democracy. I just want to say something in case many people do not know. In 1959, the country set up a national planning committee for independence. And that committee was led by the Minister of Labor, A.M. Johnson. And it had members from the MPC, NCNC, Action Group, and the parties. And it also had members from regional governments. Those were the people that sat together and called for an international competition. They said anybody, both Nigerian and non-Nigerian, can submit a national anthem competition. They finally reduced all they received to 48 from the US, from Nigeria. They received from almost 6 countries outside of Nigeria. There were many Nigerians who participated in that debate, in that competition. And the panel led by Chief A.M. Johnson chose the words written by a social worker in Nigeria, a British lady who was there as a social worker. She was not the wife nor the girlfriend of Lord Lugard, as many people say. She was a staff of a social worker. She won £280. That was the prize for that competition. So it is a false narrative when people say that it is a colonial national anthem. It is not a colonial national anthem. It was a product of a competition for Nigerians and non-Nigerians decided by a Nigerian panel. And after that, they set up another competition to find the music to go with the national anthem. That committee had our own famous show one day and a host of other Nigerian singers in that panel. And the person won £1,000. The guy who brought the music that went with the national anthem. So our challenge in Nigeria in most cases is that our recent history is not being curated and taught, and government should do something about it. Our recent national history. And when you go through our recent national history, you will see that by 1962, 2 years after independence, Nigeria has started facing severe stress. And one of the major sources of the stress was the Action Group crisis. When Chief Akintola left the Just Convention of the Action Group, the AG, and went back ostensibly to receive Ahmadu Bello and never came back to that convention. There, a decision was taken that he will be removed as premier. When they wanted to implement that decision, and that was the decision that to remove him as premier, that was the day we had the fight in the assembly, when somebody took the mace and said there was fire on the mountain and went to break the head of the speaker. And that was when Action Group had chosen Adebowero as their as the new premier of the Western region. What did the federal government of Nigeria do? They decided to support Akintola against the decision of the Action Group. So when people talk about the colonial impact in Nigeria, the major stress of Nigeria came with a constitution that allowed the federal government to declare a state of emergency and allow that federal government to appoint an administrator, which is why our subsequent constitution said no other way to rule Nigeria except as prescribed by this constitution. So I just want to clarify that independence anthem was not a colonial anthem. It was the choice of Nigerians who made that decision. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on Dr. Sam Dede. Dr. Sam Dede, is he here? This is a very special moment that is going to be shared by Dr. Sam Dede, and Prof is very interested in seeing the gentlemen that will come up to be recipients of the prizes that we have here. But like Hilda told us, there's a story behind this, and the best person to tell this story is Dr. Sam Dede. Please welcome him to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, distinguished. I prayed this morning. Doesn't matter, but I prayed. I will not get emotional about this. I hope it works. Let me also announce that I had that I was going to lose my voice just before this, and that has happened. So pardon me. So, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Ahoy, Captain Lord of Dr. Brown. Voice dogs. On the 18th of February, date that has come to me a very well, we were at our anchor point, and all of a sudden, there's something we say in the PC, we say all of a sudden there was a stampede. Some mobile police officers stormed our anchor point. I was then the secretary of the zonal branch here. And they said, everybody, lie down, guns everywhere. So I raised up my hand to explain. No, I think it was the left hand. And a heavy boot disconnected my wrist from my hand. That was the first disaster we had. So I had it dislocated, wrist. And then the next thing, everybody, whole place was just. And then we were marched to their barracks, which was just some 5 minutes walk to, with the entire street watching us. They made us tie our shirts to each other, and they marched us to Ambush Bay. That's what it's called, Ambush Bay. And then somehow we managed to get message to the legal advisor of the group. He came there. The second disaster we had was a flying pig from the commander of the Wole barracks there. That pig took that man, it was directly at the back of his head, and he would have died. It was a pig, and it took him right to the fence. He hit his head on the wall and fell flat, unconscious.
At that moment, I knew we were anyway. That was the beginning of F18 that we know about today. From there, we were taken to Pori camp. Yeah, it was the following day after they had tear gassed the cell properly before they put us in there. So imagine us in a cell, about 20-something of us in one small cell, heavily tear gassed. And we slept in that cell till the following day. And then they brought trucks, this time with soldiers. And they took us to Bori camp. Incidentally, it was the same quarter guard that the late Ken Saruwewan was held in. I'm talking about a cell that was about 6 feet by 6 feet. What they did was the 18 months among us. And chained us together. My left arm was still untreated and had swollen seriously by that time. Usually when you put people in chains, you put the left leg to the right leg of the other person. Now, whether out of mistake or deliberately, the guy who put the cuffs on me put my left leg with the left leg of Kingsley Ogundu. Today, Kingsley Ogundu is His Royal Highness. So this meant that each time they took us out in the morning to the toilet, he would be facing backwards and I would be facing, it was a horrible experience. And then for the first 1 week, we were flogged morning, afternoon, night. The commander of military intelligence read a right act. Says the commander-in-chief has a personal interest in your matter. Consider yourselves finished. You have gone as you have been. Matter, I don't seriously. So for the first 1 week, flogging until the commander of 5th Battalion, is it 5th Battalion? One Lieutenant Colonel Tajuddin something. He had returned from leave and came to the quarter guard. He said, this should not happen. We do not put leg cuffs, or what do they call them, on people that we have in quarter guard. And he summoned all the soldiers. Who did this? They said the commissioner of police said, get him to remove this leg, leg cuffs or what, or get these people out of here. The man said it's a special case. They say, Governor is I don't give a damn. This is my quarter guard. You cannot put people in chains inside the cell. If this doesn't happen by tomorrow, I'm going to set these people free. And then, surprisingly, the following day, they already came and took up the cost. So that was the beginning of the journey that was to last about 4 months. We were moved from there. Before then, somebody gave us information that this is a serious matter. They're going to fly you out very soon. They're going to fly you out of Port Harcourt very soon. We don't know where they're going to take you to. Okay, a lot of things have come in place now. If you know who to get in touch with, do that now. Immediately, I got in touch with some of my friends in the civil rights community, and they got in touch with the ambassador, American ambassador to Nigeria, just like our brother Osita, Chief Osita Chidoka said. The public ignored us. Public ignored us. It was that good American man who made it impossible for Apache to know that, look, the American government is aware that you are keeping certain people that you have named terrorists, because they kept using that word. Terrorists were working for Nadeco, were working for Lalicon, African Democratic League, you know, although some not true, shall. So, but while we were there, you know, we were ahead of the military intelligence unit. We were ahead of them because they went to search our houses. And before they did that, we had completely discharged. And there was nothing to take. When they took me for my own search, I remember it was the same day with Nat Abraham, Professor Nat Abraham today, you know. They deliberately removed our shirts and put us in handcuffs for the entire neighborhood to see that they had captured terrorists. And they went, you know, ransacked my house. Incidentally, that morning, I had the 4/7 Creed, which I read every morning then before going out. I was just lying there on my bed. They sacked the house, packed my books, packed everything. They were not smart enough to see the 4/7 Creed. So I showed the man, okay, see, you know, we'll take this one back. He said, what's that? No. And ignored it. And it was there. Anyway, to cut a story, short story long, or to cut a long story short, at us. We got information that the security in that place, I must tell you, was extremely tight. But we got information in and out on a daily basis. We were in touch with Ambassador Walter Carrington, and they gave us assurance that they look, the government is aware that they're just keep calm. From there, they moved us to, there was nothing they didn't want. They wanted the certified true copy, we have registered, blah, 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 blah. We were paying for it. We were paying the police, the military, to go investigate about us. They would pay them, they fly to Abuja to get certified true copy. We were just paying. And some of them used the opportunity to come to our cell every night to say, this will not matter. How now I'm doing? We're going to find out something or make way. They were dealing with people who were terribly frustrated at this time. In that cell of 6 feet by 6 feet, we had 6 hefty men, and we took turns to sleep. We took turns to sit down. You stand for 1 hour, the other man sleeps for 1 hour. After 1 hour, you wake him up. He lies down to sleep, and you just, it was horrible, and it went on and on and on. However, we left there, they took us from there to SIB, got us to SIB, and then we took over the cell. at Sea Dogs, Ahoy Sea Dogs. From there to Port Harcourt Prison, we're in Port Harcourt Prison when they gave us judgment for us to be released. And then from there started, because the Commissioner of Police went ahead and published our names as wanted people. And it went on and on and on and on. But we will tell the story proper at a good time, you know. But what happened essentially was that some of us left that experience very angry and decided to fight to reclaim this country, just as we have themed this conference today. Not to talk about what happened in exile and all that, and Radio Freedom, Liberation Radio, and all that, but it could have been worse.
No, it's not.
Please, a warm round of applause for Sam recounting that. Move along. Yeah, I think it's important that you put some faces to the names of the F-18. And we do have recognitions for each one of them. And as we call your name, I don't think they can all fit here, so maybe down, yes. As we call your name, if you would come up to receive your recognition, that would be amazing. So, no, all right. No, it's better to read it. Calling Dr. Joseph Oteri. And when you come up, please stay up until we have everyone up here in front. Dr. Patrick Riggs. Ifeanyi Okorafor. Riggs, Dr. Patrick Riggs. Let me get it. His Royal Majesty Temple Ejeku. Cosmos Ebule. Cosmos Ebule.
Yes.
Sam Diddy, Dr. Sam Diddy.
Fine.
Professor Nathaniel Abraham.
Hoffman?
Dr. Tinti, auditories, that person. Yes.
Beredugo. Papa Priye Beredugo. Papa Priye Beredugo.
Dr. Charles Kobedi.
Ikechukwu Okorafor. Ikechukwu Okorafor.
It is a representative of Dr. Charles Kobedi.
Elikima Abine Suku. Elikima. Yes. I'm trying to move really fast. His Royal Highness Kine Osei. His Royal Highness Kine Osei. Dr. Tammy Elene Datbo.
Dr. Tammy Elene Datbo.
Anthony Mursu. Okorafor is here somewhere.
Yes.
Nnamdi Akanu. George Aneso. Oh, wow. In, how do you say it? Posthumously, Fred Agodium. Agodium.
Oh. Sure. Yeah.
Different Bamsa.
area. Official.
Ernest Yellow Obonda. Ego Assembly going. Come this way, yes, if your name, please. Chinedu Allen. What's your name, please? It's here. No, I know we closed. We must be there. Okonta Dienami. Ibabuchi Ab. Noel Ejidike. Your name, sir? I just called that. I just called you back. Thank you. Okay. Felix. Oh, Dr. Pius, worry to me. His Royal Majesty Kingsley Ogundu. Chilaka. Kelechi won't contact. I'm butchering these names. Tamuno Beremi Princeville. Benema Ekine. So if you're up here and you haven't, please tell me your name. Emmanuel Idaka. Laifa Walker. Laifa Walter. Brisbane. Brisbane.
Ready, come.
Wow.
I don't know. How about I tell you?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to inform us that we are bringing this event to a close. But thank you so much for your patience. To thank you, to thank everybody. I want to thank Professor Soyinka. I want to thank our guest, keynote speaker, excuse me. Suka. We are getting to the final of the day. It is my privilege to request the chairman of the organizing committee, who has worked very hard with his team. And I'm referring to Ama Sanibos Sodi Peterside. So please come and give us the closing. Opus Sanibor, Sodi Peterside. Opus Sanibor. The both of them, sir.
Thank you. I want to ask Kapoli. Attention is here. We still have a lot to do after this ceremony. Let me welcome each and every one of you to tonight. When we started, please sit down. Please. When my committee was appointed, To Timmy Alabe's daughter's wedding in Abuja. I said, oh, bingo. Called Timmy. I said, Timmy, I had a problem. So what's the problem? I told him, I promised him, wait, call this staff. He just talk. And I now took the number. The American number. American number he gave me. So I sent a message. My name is Sodi Peterson. And I'm pirate. I did it. And Timmy Alabe have said to reach you. And we need to be a keynote speaker. So I'll get back to you. You have a topic? I said yes. Let me send the topic. But along the line, we keep the topic. And we didn't get back to him about it. We didn't get back to him about it. So it was when the flyer came out, as Oga, we don't change this. But as we do, we don't do as we do. And I just want to thank each and every one of them. Oh, my little cousin, Stella Fubara. My little cousin, Stella Fubara. When I reached out to her, she said, okay, no. You come. I said, I don't know. But the way you want to know whether CB they come, whether CB no come. Just come do the thing. And then I told her, okay, I will come. Don't worry. And I told her that CB would come. She said, I'm traveling. And she came in this morning, I believe. She came in this morning to be able to come and anchor this program. So I want to thank all of you. I'm sure she didn't disappoint you. Hilda was a special case. When we settled on her, I called Hilda. Hilda, you're going to talk. Okay. You done the right, what you go talk. He said, what I'm right now? Nigeria fool my head. And so, Uche, we thank you. Prof, as usual, thank you. Joy, Stella. And then Timmy was not, Timmy, there's no point thanking you. There's no point thanking you. If not you, who? If not here, where? Thank you. Others upon, please join me. We have a platform for our speakers. And so, yeah. Chief, yeah. Please, thank you for honoring us and for that lecture. I loved it. In fact, there was a lady that came here and said to send the chat. So I just wanted to stop here for another 10 minutes and leave. But because of what is happening here, I'm not going to leave again. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah? Uche, don't take your own.
These people,
Thank you so much. Professor Gamba has a book that he accused everybody in this country of stealing. Thank you. Synagogue, the very terrible. That's why I call you. I'm synagogue, the very terrible. Oh, now give yourself. I synagogue, please join us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's a beautiful that. It's a dance. Auntie, come on. Here I grew up in the same group. Here I grew up in the same group. So known her almost in the 80s. Known her almost all her life. Hilda, thank you for honoring us and joining us. Prof is the orator of the University of what happened. I don't know what you're talking about. Come. Thank you so much. Always a delight to call on you to come to my aid and assistance, and you have never told me no. Thank you so much. Timmy, we will send you out. Okay, you think I'm not because there are a lot of issues. Timmy was in Rome. Moved from Rome to London. Moved from there. We tried to catch him. And I said, if you don't tell Osita to come, why you not go come? That was the kicker. Okay, Timmy. That's the
one of my latest tsunamis, and you will respond it tomorrow.
You're almost after that. You're almost after that. Almost after that.
Distinguished and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. Please, I want to ask for a very special favor, and I am requesting Professor Wole Soyinka to kindly rise. We have our students here. They will be very happy if they are given the opportunity of a photograph, sir, with you. All students of here, come forward. Thank you. Let's go. Thank you. All students of here, let my photos come forward.
Hello?
Thank you, sir. Let's do that.
How do you meet your guys and I say something?
For the information of theater students here, I play the role of General Martyr in Professor Wole Soyinka's play, King, and the play took us to South Africa, Switzerland, and Sweden. We say you must continue to work there. Of taking a photograph with Professor Wole Soyinka, Nobel laureate. Right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. All right, we are done. The arts exhibition at Soyinka is at Beverly Hotel, 3 hours away from here. Please, we encourage you to go there. Please, we thank you all very much. We thank Professor Wole Soyinka. Thank our fathers here present. We thank all the Malobi survivors who are here present. Thank the FAG survivors who are here. Thank all of you. Thank all those who have come abroad. We are grateful. Thank those who have participated. Our panelists, thank you. The organizing committee, we thank you. We are grateful. Please, let's be part of all the other activities scheduled by the National Association of Students for this memorable event. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I don't get right.